While we line up our team that's on the ground watching those developments for us, that will be giving us an update shortly, you heard there, the commission zoning into the chain of command, particularly at SABC, where you heard their Major General Anthony Gopaul, emphasizing that as a district commissioner, he usually interacts with local and district mayors, which is standard within the level of protocol. But also when it comes to provincial ministers and national figures, such direct contact is strictly controlled, and officers are expected to report through their national commissioners or direct line managers, in this case, which would be the Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, whom Major General Gopaul directly reports to. Let's bring in now Ayanda Nyati, who's been monitoring those proceedings for us. So Ayanda, lots to take in this morning. Take us through some of those developments to come out of the Madlanga Commission.
Yeah, Mkhwanazi, we're off to quite a start. Welcome back to the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College, where, of course, we've heard from the Deputy Commissioner, the Acting Deputy Commissioner, that is, in Anthony Gopaul. He's actually been in the public before. I remember one of the briefings he's had when there were allegations and counter-allegations about some of the work that's been done by police. But today, of course, he spent a considerable amount of time speaking about his interactions with Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who we now know is on a leave of absence. Kenny Mapanga is with us, as always, keeping a close eye on developments as we distill through some of these details, Kenny. Let's begin by just placing Anthony Gopaul within the KZN policing ecosystem, because that's really kind of where he takes off.
Indeed, he's within the KZN SABC structure, but he is a district commissioner in a particular area that is Ilembe in KwaZulu-Natal. It is an area that is affected by political killings. However, he does clarify that in this regard, that was something that was given to the political killings task team. It's not a case that he would deal directly with. So with the evidence that he is dealing with, he's not directly connected to the political killings task team. However, there are issues that have taken place in that particular terrain, if I could put it that way, such as the Mabandla murder of February 2025 that deals directly with issues of alleged corruption within the municipality. That is one of the cases in which he deals with to discuss the conduct of the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu in his capacity as Minister of Police, but we're seeing the roles being conflated a number of times, and there are multiple inferences that we can draw from the testimony of Gopaul as he illustrates two instances, that is by-elections as well as the Mabandla murder and the issues surrounding a candidate within the area who is of the MK party, who enjoys quite great support in KZN in that particular region, if I could put it that way.
Yeah, the councillor you're referring to is Pendugani Mabita. We're told that he's from the Mandeni region, and this is the case really that Commissioner Gopaul uses to try and, I suppose, paint this picture of the interactions that he's had with the police minister. I'm just going to ask that perhaps we take this moment to take you back to an instance where Anthony Gopaul explains why it is that this particular case was actually investigated by the political killings task team. Take a listen.
And I then said to the minister that I'm not investigating the murder, although it happened in my district at the time, and that the murder was being investigated by the political task team. The minister then asked me...
You mean the political killings task team?
Commissioner, maybe I'll put it to you this way, Chair.
Yes.
At the time, now for the sake of public record, everybody is calling it in its full the political killings task team. At that time, it was just referred to as the political task team.
All right.
So now we use it more often. So in the context of the originality of my conversation with the minister, it was simply political task team. I didn't use the word killing in that
but
context.
I'm looking at paragraph 11 of your statement. You also referred to it as...
Yes, that's correct, Chair. No, you're correct that I wrote it in this full abbreviated acronym.
Actually, in words, not the acronym, you say political task team, as you are saying now.
Yes.
But in brackets, you say PKTT.
That's correct, Chair.
Anyway, thanks. Please continue, General.
No, thank you, Chair. So, Chair, I did tell him that is the team that's investigating it. And the Minister then asked me, but why are they investigating the case? I had instructed that these cases be investigated at the police station where the crime takes place. And understanding why, in my own way, I tried to explain to the Minister that when it comes to the political killings, the team that is investigating these kind of murders are better equipped and trained to understand the modus operandi of how these murders take place, who are the normal hitmen that are contracted. I tried to explain to him that they can do a better linkage, because if a police station investigates a case here, he wouldn't know how it is related to another murder in another police station across the province in a totally different district. So it made easier sense for better investigation to apply that kind of centralization of these dockets for investigation.
Anthony Gopaul there explaining why the political killings task team in particular was roped in to investigate the murder of this Pendugani Mabita, who is really the individual who we understand well, let me put it this way. It's his murder that really laid the foundation or set in motion the series of events insofar as those interactions between Gopaul and Mkhwanazi are concerned. But Kenny, once again, to bring you in, there's a picture being painted here. Help us kind of connect the dots.
Okay, so Mabita's murder is a focal point in this particular evidence that has been given. So essentially you see the minister taking an interest in this particular murder of an ANC councillor who had flagged alleged corruption to the council and had refused to take part in it until this issue was resolved. Of course, he gets gunned down. His sister also gets harmed in the process, but she survives the particular incident. So in the first part of his interest in the Mabita murder, I don't see any inference one could draw about it being untoward, but it directly goes into the realm of political interference, because it is only in his capacity as a Minister of Police that he would have been able to request information directly from a district commissioner, bypassing the KZN provincial commissioner, to get information regarding the suspects. When are they going to appear in court? What are they going to be charged with? What is the status of the matter? You and I as a layperson would not get that kind of intricate information unless you held the title rather of Minister of Police. And that is what is being highlighted there, and I think that is one of the themes that is difficult to understand with this Madlanga Commission, is that independence of these institutions within the criminal justice system, I think, is understood quite well when it comes to the judiciary. You can imagine if the Minister of Justice called a judge to get the status of a matter or a judgment, you would completely understand the conflict of interest there. However, with the police, it seems that that boundary is not clear, and it is not set for not only the officers themselves, because you see him getting tough questions as to why he also gave up information when he clearly understood that a boundary was being drawn here. So it is in that context where we hear that it was inappropriate for him to seek that information, because he could have only sought it in his capacity of Minister of Police. So it conflates the roles. Then, of course, he turns up to the police station. We're hearing the evidence in the second incident, dressed in ANC regalia, and of course they want information about an individual by the name of Anthony Gopaul, Governor, but we're hearing him being referenced as Dushi Governor. I think Dushi is a nickname that he is given. This is someone that enjoys a lot of support in that area, and we know that KZN is a strong province on both fronts, whether it is the ANC internally because it holds the most ANC branches and brings the most delegates, if we could put it that way, to the ANC conferences. But of course, as a province, KZN is quite critical to the national and provincial elections. You saw in 2024 how they pretty much changed the political landscape. So it's a very crucial province. So you're seeing the roles being conflated there to essentially deal with an MK party candidate that enjoys significant support in that particular area. And how he supports this claim, Gopaul, is that he references the recent by-election where Dushni Governor won that particular by-election by quite a number of supports in that particular area. So it gives us a kind of interest that Mkhunu may have had with respect to this level of alleged political interference, and it is using that role as Minister of Police to further allegedly political and personal interests. That is the theme that is being uncovered through this particular evidence.
And it's not just us saying that, Kenny, because the witness on the stand in Anthony Gopaul was asked directly what he makes of Minister Mkhunu's decision to contact him directly to get this information. Take a listen to his response.
My protocol training, it is not appropriate. But I can't say from Minister Mkhunu's protocol as a politician what training they receive and how to communicate and with whom and to what boundaries they cross and allowed to cross. But purely from my training and my 35 years of historical institutionalized protocol, it is not normal and it is not in accordance with our protocol for me to interact with the minister without the specific direction of my principal.
There you hear Anthony Gopaul saying from his perspective, certainly when he follows his own line of command, the minister certainly crossed a few lines when he made direct contact specifically for that reason. As we've been saying all morning, Kenny, we're anticipating not one but two witnesses today. Anthony Gopaul is essentially done with his statement, which means at 10 to 12, the next witness is likely to take to the stand.
Indeed, and if we're still with the PKTT stream, it could either be directly with the work or evidence that is connected but paints a different picture about any of the individuals that are implicated in these allegations of criminality in the criminal justice system. With Gopaul's evidence, it's not directly the work of the PKTT, but it's something that is directly linked, that gave the evidence an insight into his alleged conduct, that is Mkhunu's alleged conduct, that could be understood to be alleged political interference. But of course, we'll be hearing more of that evidence this afternoon, and we'll see when they take the stand because their identity is not known. But it seems from the technical issues that Advocate Silo said she needed to sort out before they return, that the witness may be appearing through that method of remote testimony. That is yet to be confirmed, but I think that is going to be the case here when the next witness takes the stand after tea break.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like we're flying this plane as we build it in some instance, but as you can see, the Madlanga Commission well on its course to continuing to investigate those claims of political interference, corruption, and the politicization allegedly of the SAPS. Once again, 10 to 12 is the time we've been given for a new witness. As always, Mkhwanazi, we'll keep a close eye on those developments for you as they unfold here at the Brigitte Mabandla Justice College.
Certainly, thanks so much for that. That's agenda anchor Ayanda Nyati alongside Kelly Mapanga watching developments for us there out in Pretoria. Thanks so much for that update. Here's